Joining us now, Manhattan-based criminal defense attorney and former Manhattan prosecutor, Jeremy Saland. Okay, so Mangione's lawyers are going to try to get his second-degree murder charge thrown out. How likely is that?
I think there's a good chance, but that doesn't mean it's a 100% home run by any stretch of the imagination. The theory is initially this dual sovereignty, and both cases can proceed at the same time. But in New York, as you've probably heard and know, it's a tighter grip on what that law is. What can the exception be? Well, first of all, if it stems from the same criminal transaction, the state says double jeopardy. But is there some argument, an exception to argue and say, well, there's a piece here that the intended harm that was supposed to be covered by the statutes, the stalking and the murder, are quite different. And in fact, as we know, in court, in federal court, when there was a plea, there was not a plea to intentionally murdering Brian Thompson.
I foresee a lot of lawyering here because it doesn't seem like it is very clear whether double jeopardy is going to be the way this goes here.
I think there's a lot of questions. On its face, it looks like the defense wins this argument. But I think there's certainly color to the prosecution's argument that, no, we need to have our day in court.
What happens between now and September 8th? That's when Mangione's state case was supposed to start. And there was a time here when we thought the state case was going to go first, the federal case would be later. And so they weren't worried about this double jeopardy issue in New York State.
Right. I mean, a while ago it was raised to Caro, but he said, unless there's a plea, there's nothing to deal with that. And yes, you're correct. It was to go first until it wasn't. And that may be driven by a little bit, we discussed the other day, ego, a little politics and things like that. But we are here now. Between now and September 8th, not much is going to happen. But the prosecution is going to have the opportunity to respond in writing, and I would expect that's going to get put off for months and months. You know, it's not happening on December 8th, that decision.
But we know,
September 8th.
That he has admitted to killing Brian Thompson.
Yes.
Essentially, he pleaded guilty to these two federal stalking charges, but essentially much of what the state case is going to cover, he did admit to killing this man.
All those words that he used in court would be used against him in that state case if it ever went forward. And they're damning. They're a conviction in and of itself. But what's critical here is words matter. Words are important. He never said, I intentionally killed with that specific intent. I did shoot him, and he did die as a result, and that satisfies the statute in terms of the stalking, but he does not use those words intentionally, and that matters in the world of the law.
But all the words he used intentionally do allow his lawyers to set up and say, hey, we've already covered all of this. This has already been covered. Why are we trying him again for what we've already admitted happened? It
was a delicate dance. They don't want to say too much that could hurt him in that federal courtroom, but they want to say enough to preempt the state, which is unfortunate because, again, Brian Thompson is key. The Manhattan DA's office was prosecuting that murder.
I thought it was sort of interesting, too, that he was able to get some digs into the healthcare industry, even as he was admitting this horrible, horrible crime and the death of a father of two. He did get his digs in on healthcare.
He did. He got his thoughts across, unfortunately, and this was a forum for him to do so, but it was part of his plea.
All right, Jeremy Saland, so nice to see you. Thank you so
much
for your expertise. All right, a new twist in President Trump's fight